Every photographer, all of us, will struggle at times, we'll get frustrated at times, we want to do better, and a lot of times there's just something simple that's holding us back, and it goes beyond just, am I going to get new gear? Am I going to get some new techniques here that's going to improve what I'm going to do? Now, we all know that it's not necessarily the camera and the lens and all that that makes a great photo, it's the photographer, but granted, there are things with having a proper camera and a lens and all that type of stuff to make your job easier, to make it easier to perhaps capture some of your art or do some of the work that you're doing in your photography career. But there's something that lies really at the core of all of this. It's how we approach photography and how that really applies to us. And that can be when it's evaluated by yourself with a very simple exercise. You can take just about a minute and it will improve your photography. Unfortunately, this gets lost and distorted through the prism of social media where you share something out there. You're proud of what you took, you shared it on Instagram, you shared it, for instance, maybe in a Facebook group, trying to get some input because you want to improve. And what happens? Well, you get these hypercritical fault finders, not everyone, but a lot of them. And what'll happen is they'll not just comment about something, you'll get a pile-on effect where others then want to join the fray and start criticizing your work, finding stuff that doesn't matter. Most of the time it doesn't. And I'll tell you from my experience too on social media, when it comes to a lot of these real estate photography groups, a lot of what they're pointing out won't really matter. You need to take a deeper look inside if you want to improve. You need to step back a second, and you can do this with a very simple exercise. So instead of jumping to the critics and letting anybody in a bad mood or with who knows what level of expertise criticizing your work, I want you to step back and I want you to answer a few simple questions. The first question, and it all starts from this is the core of it, a lot of it will branch off from this, is a very simple question. Does this make me happy? That's just the tip of the iceberg. It will branch off into just a few other questions. Once again, it takes just about a minute, but this is a question that you need to ask yourself from time to time. You could be out at a shoot, whether you're doing real estate or landscape, or you're doing portrait photography, whatever it is, whatever genre you're doing. If you answer no to, does this make me happy, when you're in the midst of doing something photography-wise, you need to ask yourself a couple more questions, and that's, will this make me better? And can I improve this? And it doesn't matter if you're on a photo shoot and you're doing photos, maybe you're doing some drone work, maybe you're doing a 360 tour, you're doing video. You need to ask yourself this question as you're doing this. But as you're doing that and you're asking yourself this question, you need to follow it up with another simple question. Will that make me happy? So, will it make me better? Can I improve this? Well, if so, will that make me happy? Now, no job is going to be perfect. No job is going to make you happy 24/7 and find nirvana at every step along the way. But you have to think about how this could affect you. For instance, if you're doing a variety of stuff, you're out there shooting, and you realize, you know what, maybe I like doing drone better than I do doing photos. Maybe I like doing video or 360 tours or something like that better. And then of course, there's the editing thing, and everybody sits down. Now I have to sit down and edit, and while it can be fun at first, it can be a time drain. But think about this. If you were editing and you're not happy at all, well, does it make you better? Can you improve on that, and will that make you happier? Well, the truth is, for instance, when you're doing editing of any type, it doesn't matter if it's real estate, doesn't matter if it's on portraits, doesn't matter at all what it is. If you start improving, you're going to get a reward mechanism. You're going to feel happier about what you're doing, and the more you practice on these things that might not be making you happy, you could be speeding up your time. It's almost guaranteed. For instance, when you first start out doing flambient photography for interior real estate, it can be frustrating to get everything edited just right. It could also be frustrating if you've never used lights and you're using lights on site. But just the editing process alone, you might be just tempted, I'm just going to outsource this. I'm going to outsource it to an editor because it doesn't make me happy. But if you can improve what you're doing, will that make you happy? Probably so. And if you stick to it, you're probably going to get a bigger reward out of it. But let's say after all that, and you really give it a lot of consideration and you say no, then it may be time to redesign what you're doing, to really take a new game plan on this. But that does not mean I'm going to give up. In fact, you shouldn't. More than likely, you're going to be able to answer yes which means no matter what, at any point along the way, if you're happy, then you need to continue. But not just continue, and at the core of this is that you need to continue reevaluating what you're doing. And as you do, ask yourself that core question, does this make me happy? You need to go through this in a cyclical manner so that you're constantly aware of what you're doing so that you can improve. If all you ever did was just, this doesn't make me happy, I don't want to do it, I'm going to give it to someone else, or I'm going to change careers, you probably will never find happiness in any career. The fact is that you do need to try, you do need to fail, you do need to pick yourself back up again and try again, but there comes a point where you could just be beating your head against a wall. Is it worth it to do this? Not everybody is cut out to be a real estate photographer, not everybody's cut out to be a drone pilot, not everybody is cut out to do a certain job, but chances are, if you really love photography, ask yourself this, why did you get into it? When did you first love photography, when you first picked up a camera? Well, you probably still love photography very much. If that was your reason that you got into whatever photography work that you're doing right now, whether it's a hobby, whether it's a career, doesn't matter, that's what drove you to where you are now, but all of a sudden, you're getting frustrated. You want to improve, but you're not improving. Well, what's holding you back? Well, it could just be that you're just not happy doing what you're doing. You need to find not just that niche that you like doing, but trying to improve what you're doing as you do. And it may be a struggle at first, but the accomplishment will make you happier and it can make you better along the way. Remember that passion is what's going to drive your quality. If you just don't care and you're giving up on stuff, your work's going to suffer, and that's a downward spiral where you don't like what you're doing, you don't put the effort into the work is going to suffer, you're not going to get good feedback from your clients or from the art world or whatever it is that you're putting your art, your effort into, you're not going to get anything back positive out of it, and it's going to continue that downward spiral. You have to be passionate about what you're doing. And once you are, then improvement comes easy, but it's a constant reevaluation process. So instead of giving up, instead of saying, I just can't do this, if you really want to improve your photography, I'm just going to ask you, take a minute and ask that one simple question. Does this make me happy?